Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for all the biggest Liverpool news and transfer updates. Today, we've got a massive story brewing. Alexander Isak could be edging closer to an Anfield move as Newcastle push ahead with their own 65 million. Deal plus reaction from Trent Alexander-Arnold and Arne Slot's verdict on our Champions League draw. Stay tuned, Reds. This one's huge. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window. What needs to happen for Liverpool to seal Alexander Isak transfer amid $77 million Newcastle agreement? The Echo breaks down the Alexander Isak transfer saga and how it has come to this for the Liverpool target. It's the transfer saga that has dominated the agenda all summer. But with just 4 days left of the window, there is still so much uncertainty over Alexander Isak's long-term future. Liverpool have made the Sweden international their #1 target after selling Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez, but Newcastle United are determined to keep hold of the player who has scored 44 Premier League goals in his last 2 campaigns on Tyneside. Isak has established himself as one of the most deadly frontmen in the Premier League during his time in the Northeast, but has made it clear he now sees his future away from St. James's Park and has not played in either of their 2 fixtures this season, which included Monday's night remarkable 3-2 win for Arne Slot's Reds. Alexander Isak transfer timeline July 14th. Isak is confirmed as having flown with the team to Newcastle's preseason training camp in Austria. July 15th. Reports emerge that Liverpool have contacted the Magpies, making clear they are willing to pay $120 million for Isak. July 19th. Isak plays no part in 4-0 friendly defeat to Celtic. Newcastle boss Eddie Howe says he respects that a player's career is short. July 24th. Isak is left off the club's pre-season tour of Singapore and South Korea with minor groin injury cited. Late July. Isak returns to training by using the facilities of former club Real Sociedad. August 1st. Liverpool C110 bid rejected. Newcastle widely reported to want closer to $150 million early August. Isak continues to train alone at the Magpies base, away from his colleagues. August 6th. Isak is ordered to stay away from family BBQ arranged by Howe at club's training facility. August 16. Newcastle kick-off Premier League campaign with goalless draw at Aston Villa. Isak does not feature. August the 19th. Isak releases statement accusing club of breaking promises and says trust is lost. The Magpies respond by saying requirements to facilitate sale have not yet been met. August 25th. Key figures from Newcastle owners. PIF meet with Isak at his Northumberland home unsuccessfully to try and persuade a change of heart. PIF chairman Yasir Al-Rumayyan is part of the delegation. August 25th. Liverpool beat Newcastle 3-2 with a 100th-minute Rio Ngumoha winner. Isak is reportedly at St. James Park to watch on but plays no part. Liverpool transfer news. Alexander Isak twist as Mark Guehi deadline approaches. Arne Slot's team are gearing up for a crunch clash against Arsenal in the Premier League at Anfield on Sunday, but transfer speculation continues to build ahead of Monday's deadline. Liverpool are gearing up to face Arsenal in a huge Premier League clash on Sunday afternoon, but the transfer speculation shows no sign of slowing down approaching Monday evening's summer window deadline. Alexander Isak's future will be sorted before he heads off to international duty with Sweden next week, but it remains as unclear as ever whether he will remain at Newcastle by 5 p.m. Monday, despite his attempts to force his way out. There remains potential of a late deal for Crystal Palace defender Mark Guehi, too, though much depends on how the Eagles fare when it comes to securing a replacement for their captain. Here are the big transfer tales to keep an eye on from in and around Anfield ahead of a crunch few days on and off the pitch. Isak interview Alexander Isak could be set to give his side of the story about his refusal to play for Newcastle and his attempts to force through a move to Liverpool. Isak wants to join the Reds, and is hoping a deal can be finalized before the transfer window closes. The 25-year-old broke his silence on the saga last week, releasing a statement that claimed Newcastle have broken promises they made to him. "I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken," he said. "That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. Newcastle's search for a new striker continues to drag on, with the Magpies already seeing 8 bids for 5 different players rejected so far this summer, which is delaying the prospect of Isak ending up at Anfield. Here is the full guide to a summer of missed targets and frustration for Eddie Howe and the St. James's Park hierarchy, including one star who has already joined the Reds, Guehi Conundrum Crystal. Palace are preparing for life without Mark Guehi by scouring the transfer market for replacements for their captain. Guehi has entered the final year of his Palace contract, and the club know they have to cash in now or risk losing him for nothing in a year's time. Liverpool entered talks to sign the England international on August 12th and remain keen on the 26-year-old centre-back. Guehi is understood to be open to joining the defending Premier League champions, who want to add depth beyond Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate. Talks fizzled out earlier this month over valuation, with Palace quoting $45 million for their star defender, while Liverpool won't go above $35 million. But they are expected to gather pace once again after Palace's Conference League playoff against Fredrikstad on Thursday night. Trent Alexander-Arnold offers immediate verdict after Liverpool reunion. Confirmed. Liverpool will host Real Madrid after the UEFA Champions League group phase was drawn on Thursday. Former Liverpool defender Trent Alexander-Arnold has offered his immediate reaction after his return to Anfield was confirmed. Following the Champions League draw on Thursday, Real Madrid will travel to Merseyside with the full-back set for an acrimonious comeback. The 26-year-old joined Xabi Alonso's side in the summer after his contract expired, bringing an end to his 20-year association with the Reds. The Spanish Giants paid $10 million for Alexander-Arnold in order to release him from his contract early and participate in their Club World Cup efforts. In July, Alexander-Arnold's future threatened to overshadow Liverpool's Premier League title celebrations after announcing he would leave the club at the end of his contract, leading to jeers in their penultimate home fixture against Arsenal. The England fullback shared the post from Real Madrid's official account, confirming their group phase lineup to his Instagram story without a caption. It follows on from the bitter end to his Liverpool career, despite winning the Premier League, with supporters showing their disdain at the decision from the academy graduate. The topic of Alexander-Arnold's future dominated the news landscape, with a host of former professionals and former manager Jurgen Klopp leaping at the chance to offer their verdict on the fullback's decision to leave the club. "Yes, 100%, he said in May, when asked if he understood supporters' disappointment. "I've been a fan of this club my whole life. It has given me the opportunity to go and do everything I've done, to achieve everything. So, I understand that. Growing up, seeing players leave that I've loved watching and have helped the team win trophies, you feel a connection to the players that you watch, especially when they bring success to the club as well. So I completely understand the feelings that go with that, and I've felt it myself, so I completely understand that the news will disappoint a lot of people, will anger people, it will make them upset. Obviously, that went into the decision as well. It's something you don't want to do. You don't want to ever have these moments where you feel like you're letting a lot of people down. You're disappointing a lot of people. But I've had to make a decision for me. It's as simple as that. It's a difficult one. It's one that has played on my mind for a long time, but being able now to get it off my chest will feel like a weight is lifted." Liverpool have 2 Alexander Isak transfer deadlines as stalemate unlocked. Liverpool signing Alexander Isak from Newcastle United appears increasingly likely, as Stuttgart striker Nick Woltemade is reportedly closing in on joining the Magpies. Liverpool face a race against time if they are to register Alexander Isak in time for any involvement against Arsenal at Anfield. Newcastle United finally appear close to signing a replacement for Isak, which could precipitate the player's exit and unlock a long stalemate in what has been the transfer saga of the summer. September 1st is the foremost deadline day approaching, but there is another one for all Premier League clubs to be aware of before then. That is because another weekend of fixtures will happen before the summer transfer window closes. The Reds host Arsenal on Sunday afternoon as two of the top three meet. However, despite playing later than all but Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, they do not have any longer to get their business done than any of their rivals, as per Rule U23 in the Premier League Handbook. The deadline for receipt by the board of all duly completed documents required by these rules to effect the registration of a player shall be 12 noon on the last working day, before the date of the first league match in which the club making the application intends him to play, save that the international transfer certificate and evidence of eligibility to take up employment in the United Kingdom, in both cases if applicable, may be provided thereafter, but must be provided before the player is eligible to play for a club in a league match. In this instance, all clubs must register players before midday on Friday. It therefore appears unlikely that the Sweden international will be lining up at Anfield on Sunday evening against the club credited with an interest in signing him for much of this year. However, if they were to pull off a deal in time somehow, Isak could face off against his compatriot Viktor Gyökeres for the first time since they were teenagers in Stockholm. Newcastle close in on $65 million deal set to open door for Alexander Isak's Liverpool transfer. Newcastle have been searching for a striker all summer, missing out on Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Sesko, but now Stuttgart's Nick Woltemade is heading to St. James's Park. Newcastle are set to break their transfer record after agreeing a $65 million fee with Stuttgart to sign Nick Woltemade. The deal could prove to be a major turning point in the saga involving Alexander Isak, who's been exiled amid his wish to join Liverpool. Woltemade, 23, has been heavily linked with a move to Bayern Munich throughout the summer after an impressive campaign with Germany at the Under-21 European Championship. The forward scored 6 goals and provided 3 assists as his nation reached the final, only to lose England in extra time. Bayern reportedly made 3 bids for Woltemade, each of which were rejected by Stuttgart. Newcastle have now swooped in and appear to have successfully concluded their long search for a striker. The Magpies had been rejected by their 2 major targets, Hugo Ekitike, who signed for Liverpool, and Benjamin Sesko, who joined Manchester United. Other players who Newcastle looked at include Brentford star Yoane Wissa and Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson, but Woltemade is en route to St. James's Park to complete a move, having said his goodbyes at Stuttgart on Thursday. It's understood that Newcastle will pay the Bundesliga club an initial 60.5 meters plus 4.5 meters in potential add-ins. Woltemade's arrival may have a direct impact on Isak's future, with the Magpies having turned down a 110-million bid from Liverpool earlier this month. Although Newcastle had always been targeting a forward to replace second-choice Callum Wilson, who left upon the expiry of his contract in June, the club record fee suggests that Eddie Howe believes Woltemade can step into Isak's shoes. Liverpool are yet to make a follow-up bid with 5 days remaining of the summer transfer window. Isak is still training away from the Magpies' first-team squad, and in fresh showdown talks with the Newcastle hierarchy this week, he reiterated his desire to leave. After Isak, Newcastle's current record signing at 63 minutes, missed Monday's 3-2 defeat at home to Liverpool, Howe issued an update on the Swede's future. "I have no idea where that Isak stands at this second," the Magpies manager admitted. Arne Slot gives telling verdict on Liverpool's Champions League draw. Arne Slot's Liverpool side has been handed several tricky opponents in the Champions League phase, including Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Inter Milan. Arne Slot said that Liverpool has been handed a very challenging draw in the Champions League after the Reds were pitted against the most successful side in the competition's history, Real Madrid, as well as last season's finalist, Inter Milan. The Reds will also face Atletico Madrid, Frankfurt, PSV Eindhoven, Marseille, Karabag, and Galatasaray, as they battle to make it into the last 16 of the competition. The game against Real Madrid will see the return of Trent Alexander-Arnold to Anfield, where he will most certainly face a frosty reception following his controversial departure at the end of last season. Liverpool won 7 of its 8 league games last season, only losing the 8th when Slot fielded an inexperienced side in an effective dead rubber against PSV Eindhoven on game day 8. A game against PSV is once more on the agenda, and Slot named that assignment as one that he is looking forward to. I think the first thing to say is that, like last season, it is a very challenging draw, Slot said. But we knew that it would be because in the Champions League, especially with the new format, there is no such thing as an easy draw. But what is also clear is that this is a very exciting draw, full of big games both home and away. To be able to welcome Real Madrid to Anfield again is something special. Last season's game was, of course, a memorable one, and I expect the same this time around. That is, I am sure, a fixture that the whole world will be looking at. On a personal note, it is always nice to play against a Dutch team in PSV Eindhoven, a team that won the league title 2 years in a row. The same goes for Galatasaray, who have won 3 in a row in Turkey, and for Karabag, the champions of Azerbaijan. And to also play against sides of the caliber of Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, Eintracht Frankfurt, and Marseille shows the strength of this competition. None of our league phase games will be straightforward, that is clear, but I am sure our supporters will be looking forward to all of the Anfield games and to all of the away fixtures, which will all be played in big stadiums with fanatical and passionate fans. They will be excited, and so are we. We have a very busy schedule coming up, both domestically and in Europe, but we are excited and ready for the challenges ahead.